Hello and welcome to BSB Must Reads, where we tell you all the books you must be reading. Today, I have with me Cathy Dunnell. Hey, Cathy, how you doing?
I am good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. So I hear from your accent that you are over in the UK. Where in the UK are you at?
So I'm in London right now.
Nice. Is there lots going on there with the funeral and whatnot?
Yeah, it's been quite a crazy couple of weeks. Yeah, especially with the queue, the most British queue in the world. But yeah, that's starting to kind of die down a bit now. Things sort of feeling like turning to not normal, but like a new normal.
Does that mean the queue is very orderly, or that there's fights breaking out everywhere?
Oh, it's a very orderly queue,
Oh, okay.
obviously, and just because it's so epic, like people were queuing for like 24 hours, that everyone like came prepared to approach it as if it was like, a serious sporting event to join the queue.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm kind of sorry I'm not there to see it. But moving on, we are here to talk about your new release, A Cutting Deceit, which I love that title. I would love for you to tell the listeners a little bit about you if they haven't read one of your books yet, and then a little bit about The Cutting Deceit, and I'd love for you to read for us.
Sure, yeah. So a little bit about me. So yeah, I live in London with my wife, daughter, and my cat. I'm still quite a new author with BSB, so I published my debut novel Beulah Lodge in autumn, I think last year, which was kind of like a historical novel set in Victorian period. So my new novel is A Cutting Deceit, and a slight change of genre. It's a kind of crime drama. It's a story centered around Valeria, who has been married to a gangster boss called Servan for many years. She married him to escape a cycle of poverty, but she's finding living within his control becoming increasingly difficult. And things only get more difficult when Athena takes a job at Valeria's hair salon. Unknown to Valeria, Athena is an undercover police officer working to bring down Servan and his criminal empire. And what starts off as a tentative flirtation between them quickly develops into a full-blown affair, and stakes for both of them only get higher and higher. So I'm going to read a short extract now. If I can find my right screen that I've got it on. Okay. When Valeria awoke, she had to spend a few minutes figuring out where she was. Her own bed had become strange to her. She rolled over, tangling herself in the sheets as the previous evening replayed itself in her mind. Morning light was weakly attempting to break through the curtains. Valeria sat up and looked about. Athena was nowhere to be seen. Valeria was just beginning to wonder if she had slipped away during the night when she heard a noise downstairs. She couldn't pinpoint what it was exactly, just that someone was moving around. She lay very still for a moment. The thought occurred to her that maybe it was Servan back early, in which case it was good that Athena might have left already. But had she left? What if she had simply gone to the bathroom and now Servan was downstairs and he would see the remains of their dinner? And Valeria reined her thoughts in sharply. She got up at once and quickly dressed in a pair of shorts and an oversized t-shirt. She went onto the landing and paused, listening intently. She could definitely hear someone moving about in the hallway. Her heart began to beat faster. She was convinced that it had to be Servan, because if Athena was still here, what would she be doing in the hallway? Valeria padded softly down the stairs, mentally rehearsing the different explanations she could give to Servan. Athena had come for dinner, got a bit drunk, and so if Valeria had suggested she sleep it off before heading home, that sounded plausible enough and would appeal to Servan's sense of honour. Valeria rounded the bottom of the stairs, her face ready to show surprise. But it wasn't Servan standing in the hallway, it was Athena. She was standing by the kitchen door, just opposite the cupboard under the stairs. She was dressed in the clothes she'd been wearing the night before, and looked a little crumpled and blurry around the edges. She jumped when she saw Valeria. Jesus, you nearly gave me a heart attack. What are you doing? I was going to make some coffee. In the hallway? I couldn't find anything in the kitchen. I thought I'd come back upstairs, but I didn't want to wake you. She smiled sheepishly. I was hovering here, having a moment of indecision. Valeria took a deep breath. I thought you were Servan. Oh, shit, sorry. Is he due back? Not till this evening. But I suppose I shouldn't hang around too long. You can hang around long enough for a coffee. Valeria moved past her and took Athena's hand as she went, drawing her into the kitchen. Athena had clearly not tried very hard to find coffee, as the cafetiere was sitting right on the side. Valeria pointed this out teasingly, and Athena blushed. I'm not at my best in the mornings. You should go for a run every morning. It sharpens the mind, Valeria said as she spooned coffee into the cafetiere. Athena leaned back against the counter, her arms folded. I'm impressed by your dedication. It's the only time I get to myself. She poured hot water on the coffee and let it brew. She glanced at Athena and saw a look of pain on her face. It won't always be this way, Athena said. I promise you, things will change. Sure, Valeria said, wanting to lighten the tone. Everything changes. She poured out coffee for them and they stood by the open back door and watched the morning light slowly brighten over the roofs of the houses. Birds sang and flitted from one fence to the other. You should think about what you would do if Servan wasn't here, Athena said, her eyes following a blackbird as it hopped across the lawn. I do think about it. I have my dream house sorted out. No, I mean properly think about it. Make a plan. Valeria looked at her. Are you planning to slip some arsenic into his tea or something? No, but you said it yourself. Everything changes. Valeria was silent as she looked out at the familiar row of terraced houses. The sound of the traffic was faint at this hour, but she knew its tempo would increase as the day wore on. She thought of her small stash of money hidden away at the salon. She'd been planning for something, although she had never articulated to herself what that something was. But perhaps deep down it had always been for a life without Servan. She took a deep breath, feeling anxiety tightening across her chest. But you don't know whether the change will be for the better, she said. Athena reached across the doorway and took her hand. I know it's scary, but I just want you to be ready when it comes. And she took a deep breath. I want you to remember what I said to you last night. That was true, you know? Valeria squeezed her hand. I know, it was true for me too. No matter what happens, remember that it's true. Athena's eyes searched hers, and she again experienced a strange sensation that Athena had aged before her eyes. Her chest tightened again. What do you mean? What's going to happen? I don't know. That's the whole point. Things will change, and I just want you to remember that last night was real, properly real, yeah? Athena was gripping her hand so tightly that it was painful. Okay, Valeria said. I promise. I'll remember. No matter what happens, Athena pressed. No matter what happens. Athena released her hand and looked back out over the garden. She took a deep breath and released it slowly. Valeria studied her face, trying to discern what she was thinking. There was a tightness around her jaw that robbed her face of its usual open, sunny appearance. Valeria sensed there was something at work in her, a dark shape moving beneath the surface that she could only catch glimpses of. Athena drained her cup and turned to place it back on the kitchen side. I should probably get going. Valeria glanced at the clock. It's still very early. Yeah, but if I go now, there's less chance of being seen, right? And I need to go home before work. All right, but won't you stay for some breakfast? Now, I'll grab a pastry or something on the way home. She kissed Valeria lightly on the lips and made her way to the front door. Valeria followed, thinking that once again they were set for an awkward parting. Athena turned at the door, took Valeria's face in her hands and kissed her again. It was a deep, passionate kiss, and Valeria felt a creeping dread that this was the kind of kiss she gave someone when leaving them forever. The thought made her hold Athena tightly, and she returned the kiss with just as much ardour. When they finally pulled apart, Valeria saw a stricken, helpless look flit briefly across Athena's face. And then she saw Athena trying to set her features to their usual open expression. I'll see you at the salon, Athena said, trying to smile. Everything about her manner was so clearly forced that Valeria felt like she'd just received a paper cut. It smarted and sang with pain. Okay, she said, unable to force any more words out. When the front door closed behind Athena, Valeria leaned against it and felt tears springing to her eyes. Something was happening that she did not understand. All she knew that it was taking Athena further away from her.
Oh, don't cry. It's gonna be okay. Although, you know, you're writing a bit of a thriller here, so who knows if it's really gonna be okay.
Yeah, who can say?
Okay, so this is part romance, part thriller. Valeria is married to a crime boss, unhappily married. And Athena is the undercover cop assigned to expose his dirty deeds. Do I have that right? Okay.
Do, yes, yeah.
All right. So where did you come up with the idea for a book like this?
I think I got some of the ideas from kind of partly walking up and down the kind of, you know, streets of London and seeing kind of various establishments. And you sometimes hear kind of rumours about how exactly places get hold of their money and that kind of thing. I've always had that in the back of my mind. And then I think it's really interesting kind of situations where there's perhaps an element of deceit involved and how you kind of fashion a kind of proper like romance or relationship out of a situation that's just built on maybe necessary lies and necessary deceit, and how you can ever, if you can ever recover from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that element in this book because it works both ways for both characters, right? You have one who's keeping this enormous secret that her husband is, involved in crime. And you have the other one who's an undercover cop. So her entire identity is secret. So they have a lot to work through there.
Yeah, there's a lot of complex kind of emotions and stuff to process.
For sure. Valeria has, I think, a really significant and kind of long arc in the sense that her backstory, she comes from a poverty background, didn't have a lot. And that's what kind of compels her to marry this wealthy man. And then throughout the story, she has a lot to learn about, how to be yourself and what it is that matters in life and what's going to make her happy. What was it like writing a character who has so much to learn and has to go such a long way?
It was really enjoyable. I think I really enjoyed spending kind of so much time like inside Valeria's head and so much time with her. And I thought, I really liked the fact that she'd made a kind of a decision many, many years ago that at the time seemed like the absolutely best possible thing she could do for herself. And then kind of her kind of relationship with Athena starts to like really pick at some of those doubts that maybe had always been there but had just been pushed down, and they gradually like start to come to the surface. And it's not necessarily like a sudden revelatory moment, but it's actually like a gradual, slow sort of process of unpicking all the kind of values and all things she thought were important until she's almost kind of done a complete like 180 as to what she thought she wanted. And I think that's always really interesting in stories when that happens to a character who seems perhaps very set and very unchangeable, and something just unexpected happens in their life that completely flips everything on its head.
Yeah, kind of speaks to the power of love.
Indeed, yes.
Okay, so let's move on to Athena. She's the undercover cop. What was it like getting into the psychology of a character who spends her life pretending to be someone else?
Yeah, I think for me, I think the only way Athena can actually do that, and still kind of like live with herself is because there's always like a greater good that's being pursued. There's always like an end that is justifying the sometimes difficult means that she has to go through. So for her, she's got a very kind of strong sense of justice and a strong sense of this man needs to be stopped and what he's doing like 100% needs to be stopped. And I think she will do whatever it takes to stop that. Yeah,
for sure. Well, I cannot wait until it comes out. I'm so excited. Please check out A Cutting Deceit by Cathy Dunnell, out on the Bold Strokes website, October 1st, and everywhere books are sold the middle of the month. Thank you so much, Cathy.
Thank you. I hope everyone enjoys reading it.